What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we are going to take a look and a listen to Representative McCormick. He's going to be talking about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. He's going to be talking about cuts. Now, this was the fear, right? We didn't know what was going to happen. We have a new Congress coming in now, and we have Republicans that are controlling the House. They have a narrow majority in the House, and they also have a larger majority in the Senate. So they are going to control both chambers of Congress and the presidency. And so what is this going to mean for programs like Social Security and Medicare? Now, President Trump did assure us that he doesn't want to make cuts to Social Security or Medicare. He's not going to touch it. But that in itself can be an issue because we do need to address Social Security and Medicare. We need to expand both programs, so we need to bring in more revenue in order to do that. We only have about 9 years before the trust funds run out of money. So that is something that needs to be addressed, but he has made the pledge that he's not going to make cuts to these programs. However, Congress, some people in Congress have a different idea of what to do with Social Security and Medicare. And we know that Congress, they're the ones that legislate. They're the ones that could make the cuts. Now, of course, once Congress passes a bill, they need to send it to the president for final signature, and the president can veto a bill, but guess what? It can go back to Congress, and Congress, with a 2/3 vote, can override his veto. And so this is where we are right now. So I'm going to show you this clip, then we'll talk a little bit about it. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the clip, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about it. Here we go.
The problem with the Democrats is they've never run out of things that they can give away for free, quote unquote. When you talk about $8 trillion in debt payment just on interest alone every year, we can't just talk about the military, though. And the military can do some things better. We can save some money just in the way of contract. We can be careful that we don't decrease our abilities because China is right on our heels. However, if you talk about 75% of the budget, 75% is non-discretionary. We're going to have some hard decisions. We got to bring the Democrats in and talk about Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. There's hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved, and we know how to do it. We just have to have the stomach to actually take those challenges on. But we can't just talk about our discretionary budget. That's less than 25% of our budget. We have to have some real hard discussions.
Okay, so that was Representative McCormick talking about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We need to have serious discussions about this. We need to have serious discussions about cutting hundreds of billions of dollars out of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. So how are they going to make those cuts? We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but I want to address one thing that he was talking about. So he's talking about military spending. And what I'm showing you right now, this is military spending, U.S., $877 billion. This is 2023. And these are all of the other major countries, okay, with large militaries. They spend a combined $149 billion. We spend $877 billion. It's not even close. So you're telling me we can't cut more spending out of our defense? Compared to other countries, they're doing a much better job of having a strong military and being able to not spend as much as we are when it comes to our defense. And so we need to have a discussion. We do need to have a serious discussion about spending, but we do need to be looking at the military. Now, I think further on in this interview, he says that we shouldn't be cutting defense spending. I believe he said that, okay? Don't quote me on that. I watched the clip, the full clip, and then I just showed you this clip here. But when it comes down to it, sure, we can address our defense spending. And then when we have articles that come out like this, Pentagon fails 7th audit in a row, unable to fully account for $824 billion budget. So there's an issue when it comes to our defense spending. We don't even know where the money's going, something that we should be addressing. Could you imagine if this was the Social Security Administration? Just think of how many politicians would be out there saying, look, we need to take a real hard look at Social Security because They're not even passing their audits. But defense spending, they're not passing audits. This is 7th in a row. And guess what? You have politicians out there saying, you know what? We need to keep spending when it comes to our defense spending because we don't want other countries to catch us when it comes to spending. And the reality is it's not even close. It's not even close when you look at the spending. Okay, so let's look at some of the numbers here. So when it comes to spending, Social Security, $1.46 trillion. That's what we spend on Social Security every year. And then you have health, you have $912 billion. When you have interest on the debt, you have $882 billion. You talked a little bit about interest on the debt. Then Medicare, you have $874 billion. National defense, $874 billion. Now, we have mandatory spending, and I would consider payment on our national debt mandatory spending as well as Medicare and Social Security. But what he is not talking about is the fact that Social Security, the funding for Social Security is paid for by the payroll tax and the trust funds. That's how it's paid for. Medicare is very similar. They also have trust funds. And so Social Security, Medicare, they're not adding to our national debt. And that's the issue that I have with what he is saying, because he's talking about national defense. We don't need to really cut national defense, but we need to start cutting Social Security or look at, have a real hard discussion about Social Security and Medicare. But those programs are running themselves. We're not adding to our deficit every year, and we're not adding to the debt. And so the way that the systems are working right now, Social Security and Medicare, the systems will work fine for another 9 years, 9 to 10 years. And then they're going to have to address the shortfall, and the shortfall will be the trust funds, because the trust funds will be depleted. Once they get depleted, that's going to be a reduction in benefits of about 23%. And so that does need to be addressed. And the real serious discussion that we need to have is we need to have a discussion about how do we bring in more revenue for these programs? Because we don't want to have to cut the programs, but you do have lawmakers out there right now that are talking, just like McCormick is talking and saying, yes, you know what, we need to have serious discussions about cutting the programs. Where are you going to cut? Where are you going to cut? If you cut the program right now, what are you going to cut? You have $1.4 trillion going to Social Security. That goes to pay out Social Security every year. What are you going to cut? Are you going to start cutting people's benefits? That's the only way that you're going to save money. Because the way it works is the payroll contribution, people who are currently working, they're paying into that payroll contribution. That money goes to the Social Security Administration. That money goes to pay out benefits that people that are currently receiving benefits. And then the trust fund will offset, because the payroll tax right now is not 100%. We're not able to pay out benefits at 100% just by using the payroll tax. So we have to pull from the trust funds. So where are you going to take the money from? There's no extra money. So if you're looking at cutting, you're going to be cutting people's benefits. It's simple as that. That's simple math. And so I don't know what the plans are. I don't know what they're going to put forward as far as a proposal, but it's really not possible. The way that he's talking right now, it's not even possible to cut Social Security without cutting people's benefits. And if that is part of their plan, they want to cut people's benefits, well, I'm sure we're going to find that out very soon, because we're going to see proposals that are out there saying, oh, we're going to cut your benefits by about 10%, or we're going to cut your benefits by about 15%. We'll see that if that's the case. Right before the election, you had all these politicians saying, oh, no, we would never cut Social Security. We would never cut Social Security. Now, after the election, guess what? Now you have politicians coming out and saying, yeah, you know what? We need to take a real hard look at Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. We might need to make some cuts to these programs. So in my mind, this is no surprise. We're just going to have to see how politicians are going to be able to keep this from happening. Some of the politicians that don't want to cut Social Security and Medicare, how they're going to keep this from happening. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.